And this is part 3 of Jailbreaking the Goddess, a conversation between Hannah J. Pierce and myself, Lasara Firefox Allen, about Jailbreaking the Goddess, the book, and Jailbreaking the Goddess, the workbook, which is the project that Hannah and I are working on together currently.
That's right. And it's going to be birthed into the world on October 15th. So
very soon, so soon.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about how the workbook really works in tandem with Jailbreaking the Goddess to sort of deepen the experience. How do you suggest using the workbook that could take you beyond just reading the book?
Right. Okay. So this is a very important thing to talk about, actually. So one of the things that I've experienced over the years with Sexy Witch as well, my books are dense. They're not popcorn. They're not, you can't just like sit there and toss it in your mouth. Like it's going to take some digestion. It's going to take some time to sit with it. And if you really want to nourish yourself with it and really, get all of the flavor, like the more time you can give it, the better. So what I suggest for people when they're working with my material is that you read through once. Just read through the whole book as quickly as you can. Just like read through and then come back and then read through on a more deep level. Now, there are a lot of different ways that you can approach it. One is you can just read it and it will do the ideas thing. It'll shift your consciousness in that way. Yeah. If you want to go deeper than that, you can read through and you can do the exercises and answer the journaling prompts and do the crafting exercise, practices and all that different stuff. Create your wheel, your magical wheel, and etc. Like all of the different ways to engage with the model and with the new ideas that I offer in the book. Third, if you want to go really, really, really deep, then you do that and potentially you work in a group, whether that's your group, which we'll also be putting up a syllabus and so that people can work the book as a group. With your existing coven or with a new group of people or with your class at school. It doesn't matter what the group is. You can work at, your book club, whatever your setting is. So then you can do it that way. Or if you want to, you can work it with me in the initiation. And that's if you go to my website, lasarafirefoxallen.com/the-initiation, you can find Jailbreaking the Initiation, and you can take that course with me currently that I'm going into my 4th cycle of facilitating the initiation. And I believe Hannah will be in that cohort, I'm hoping.
Wow.
And it's limited to about 20 participants beside my crew. And so if people want to do that, and if I'm not currently offering a cycle, I will put you on a waiting list. So you can, and that, of course, obviously, like I'm going to focus in the initiation cycle, I focus specifically on the 5 aspects and really deepening our relationship with the 5 aspects. The syllabus is going to be more the whole, all the chapters. So, and you can even do both at the same time. You could be working. I have one woman who is looking at working. She has not committed yet, but we're talking about what it would be like for her to be taking the course with me and working with her students at the same time, and how enriching that process could really be for her. So
yeah, and that raises a really important point, which is that this is just as the fivefold goddess isn't linear,
right?
Neither is the work, right? So you can do the initiation. I started midway through your last initiation. Right. I'm going to do the 2nd cycle and start at the beginning, but it doesn't matter. Every time is different and deeper. And similarly, you can use the workbook as like a deep journaling, like going into your self place where you draw and doodle and dream and write, and it can be a very private, reflective thing. It gives you sort of the structure to deepen your own spiritual practice. But there's also a lot of really great stuff in there that's like conversation starters for people who are working in community.
Yeah.
How are we going to do this together? What do we believe? What are, what are some of our hidden assumptions? What are our roles?
Right.
What do we value? How can we get out into the world and co-create?
Right. Definitely. So some of the central themes are co-creation. Our collective liberation is one of the central themes. The languages of women is a central theme.
Right.
How to co-create rather than collaborate, even rather than, collaboration is great. How do we co-create? How do we mutually create together from this same recognition of difference and similarity?
Right.
How do we create a situation where we aren't trying to push past anything, but are trying, where we are actively working to include the whole?
Right. Right. Yeah. So it really operates on a number of different levels that, are really exciting. And there's also the sort of online dimension to the whole thing. So if you do Jailbreaking the Initiation, you end up being in a cohort of women who become incredibly close to each other and bond and form this magical, wonderful community and do ritual together and, meet on that plane.
Yes. And we're literally all over the world. I mean, in the last report, there were women in Japan and the UK and all over the US, Canada. Yeah. So like literally, because time and space are so much less static,
Right.
with the advent of the information age, we really have the capacity and the potential of really collaborating and co-creating and coming together and really finding, again, that space for honoring our differences and creating the space for a shared respect that will allow us to learn from one another and grow into a greater and deeper sense of what's possible.
Right. And then the other layer on which that can happen too is the members area of your website, because there are going to be a lot of tools there that go with the Jailbreaking workbook. So we're planning on offering the workbook in both digital format and paper format. So for those of you who are like me and love to just get the markers out and the pens and whatever, you can do that. But there's also a digital version which will have links. And then there's also a members area on Lasara's website that has lots of really good information. Links to drawings by people who've just done incredible work in their own fields. Like, shout out to Paige, the Fat Feminist Witch, who did some amazing stuff on her journal. That'll be up on the page soon.
Yeah, I've had 3 people send, just unsolicited, notes like saying, this is what I'm doing with the thing. And it's just so beautiful. And it's been really inspiring as we've been working on the workbook to get these kind of like spontaneous submissions of people's different journaling practices and what it looks like on the page. It's just been really
it's been really interesting to think, like, what would the experience of a woman like wanting to like dig in and feel it. Like, for instance, I was just inspired to put into the workbook, like, every time you get to a new fivefold goddess, to just like run your finger over the sigil a bunch of times. Trace the sigil with your fingertips, because I think, probably a lot of viewers know about sigil magic and the power of just tracing that form and integrating it and having it show up places in your life. And I think that's sort of like, it's a magical tool.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Comes down to.
Well, and one of the things, like, Paige took like actual printed out pictures from her childhood and like pasted them into her journal, her workbook, stuff like that. It's whatever. And this is something, I'm very word oriented, obviously.
Me too.
But over the years, I have been reminded again and again by different students, like, visualization doesn't work great for me. And, speaking of visualization though, I will also be offering the guided visualizations in my members area on the website. lasarafirefoxisland.com, and you can join the members area for free, and all of that stuff will be there.
Cool.
So I've been reminded over the years, like, I need to have, I'm not going to journal it out. One of my students in particular was like, I'm not going to journal it out. You have to give me another option. So I'm like, okay, right. Okay. You don't need to write it. You can draw it. You can, you can craft it. You can play with Play-Doh or clay, or, you can
dance it. You can go outside and like roll around in it.
Right. Exactly. You can go, bird watching, and that can be your devotional. I mean, there's no right way to do it. It's all your way to do it is the right way for you.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's a container to hold people's individual processes, but I mean, really at the core of your philosophy is, this is yours. If it works for you, do it this way. If it doesn't work, go find a way that works.
Right. Exactly. And the workbook specifically is going to be, we're basically pulling a lot of the material from the book itself,
right,
and repackaging, basically, like, you'll have a page where you can do journaling if you want to do journaling, or you can draw, or you can paste in pictures, you can collage, you can, you can do finger painting, you can, whatever that thing that gets it into your body, whatever it is for you, that's going to do that. For some of us, that's right.
Or like app smashing, if you're going to use the electronic version, there's no reason why you couldn't do like, layer apps on top of each other and import it, and you'd have all kinds of
right. Exactly. I do that too. I'm because I am pretty visual. So, I like playing with, little like meme apps and whatnot, and just, I've done a lot of that with quotes from the book and stuff like that too. So, whatever it is that, the more ways that you have to integrate the work into your consciousness, the better, the more effective it's going to be in the long run. And so the other component, though, that I do want to talk about is not just that internal process, but a lot of these exercises that I offer in the book are actually about going out into the world and engaging.
Yes.
So, because a lot of it, like getting it going in here is essential. And that's not the only, as you'll find out when you read Jailbreaking the Goddess, you'll find that my philosophy is that, doing our work on ourselves is only part of the picture.
Yeah, you're going to have to do some field trips.
Yeah. And hopefully they'll be fun. And, imagine if you're working with your besties, you can create a lot of really amazing stuff. And some of it is going to be just about holding yourself accountable and being willing to hold each other accountable too. I have a little story about that, which is my kids and I were at a festival, a very sweet, wonderful festival that is generally totally, most of the people there there were remarkably few incidences where I was like, fuck, that pisses me off, but we were camping next to these young women, and they basically, one of the young women put on a Pocahontas outfit. And we were like, no. And the kids were like, okay, Mom, you got to go talk to her. And I was like, why do I got to go talk to her?
Right?
They were like, well, you gotta, and I was like, okay. So we had a conversation with her, and she was like, well, it's the only thing I have to wear. What can I do? And I was like, well, you can take off that one part and change this other part, and you're no longer saying this thing that you were saying before. And, but it's really just a question of when you see stuff going down, and I honestly am I have family and friends who are Indigenous. And so if I don't go and be the person who would make it safe for my family and friends to be there, then I'm not being a good friend or family member, or, much less an ally, the ally thing, whatever, but I'm not being a good human.
Right.
So, where do you, what's your responsibility?
Right. And I think too that I think it would be really easy to make this just about seeing the goddess in myself. Where am I? Which goddess do I most relate to?
Right.
And that is totally legit and can absolutely be a part of this practice.
And we actually have a quiz on the website that you can go and take, and it'll tell you which one you are.
And it's super fun. Yeah. And you might not be the same one all the time. Like,
no, you most definitely will not be the same one all the time.
But like, it's so much more than that. It's like getting really grounded in yourself. And then, yeah, like seeing the divine everywhere and taking responsibility for co-creating a better world.
Yes, definitely. That is it. That is the thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, so do you have any other questions, or should we break this one and then do a bonus reel of like a final question?
Bloopers? Yeah, no.
Yeah. No, okay. We'll be right back with our bonus reel number 4.
Okay.